and it's been keeping me busy, and I've been getting really good feedback from all of you guys out there in Instagram land. So thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. Looks like some of you are starting to slowly join me here. So over the past week, I've spoken to a lot of different guests. I've had members of Burn, Primitive Weapons, Spotlights, King Woman, Outburst, Breakdown, Crown of Thorns, and God, who am I missing? Incendiary, and of course, Dillinger Escape Plan. So it's been really cool, and I love that you guys are watching every night and checking it out and asking questions. In the background, you hear H2O. My guest tonight, Todd Friend, is the drummer of H2O. I started listening to H2O in around, high schoolish for me. I think that was 95. First album, actually before the first album dropped. This was their demo, or their 7-inch. And at the time, I was hooked. I was really into that first album. I went to see them all the time with my friends. And, decades later, I joined a gym called Physical Culture Collective. And that place is owned by Gavin Van Vleck of Burn. One of the great things about living in New York is you get to meet your heroes, especially if you stick around long enough and they become your friends. And I met Todd one day when we were in class. He was working out in the back. I was getting ready for Muay Thai. And since we met a couple years ago, he's been just such a great guy to know and talk to and chat with. And hey, Dan Clayton, stick around and ask some questions. Yeah, that's right, I did give you an H2O shirt. So he's nice enough to join me. And Todd, I see that you're watching. Whenever you figure out how to join in, I'll get you into the chat here so we can start talking. I got some questions for you. I can't wait to dive into it. But just so y'all know, every night at 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, Monday through Friday, I'm doing this on the St. Vitus Instagram channel. And on the weekends, I just want to keep it going, so I'm doing it on my own here. Hey, Todd, I see you there, brother. So a couple people have been having this issue where they don't see the request to join. If it's not working, try popping out and rejoining. But you should see a button that says request to join. So when you figure that out, we'll get you in here, man. But in the meantime, what I have coming up next week, tomorrow on the St. Vitus Instagram, we have Pallbearer. Tuesday, we have Power Trip. Wednesday, we have John Stanier, the legendary drummer formerly of Helmet and Battles and Tomahawk. Thursday, Helms Ali. Friday, Primitive Man. I'm still working on my weekend interview schedule, but we have even more coming. So if you missed any of the episodes, you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Chris Enriquez. All right, looks like Todd's joining us, so I'm going to turn off the music right now, and we'll get him in here. Let's see what's going on here. Work with us here. All right, Todd. Todd Friend.
What's up, buddy?
What's up, man? How are you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Just getting adjusted to the new normalcy of the last couple weeks, I guess. Clean shaven, I see.
Yeah, man. I took the. I haven't had much to do, obviously, so I've been keeping busy, especially on the socials. And I took a poll, and everyone told me to shave, so I got rid of it, man. I feel naked, but what are you gonna do?
I think I requested for you to keep it, but it looks good too, though. Very, very sassy.
I'm sorry to disappoint you, Todd. Man, looking good, man. I'm really glad we're doing this. I got some questions for you, and I was given a background on how we met, and I already have some people submitting, so we should just jump right into it. How do you feel about that?
Let's do it.
All right, cool, man.
Let's do it.
Well, first of all, how has the quarantine been affecting you and the band?
Well, let me take my gum out first. Well, we were supposed to play 8 shows. in the next, well, technically today was supposed to be Sacramento. We were supposed to play 5 shows with the Gorilla Biscuits. Sacramento, San Francisco, Berkeley Square, Orange County at Garden Grove, and then all that got canceled about 2.5 weeks ago. And then we were going to do 3 out here, 2 at Garwood, out at Garwood in New Jersey, and then 1 in the city. And obviously that's been postponed. We're trying for July-ish. That's we've rescheduled for July 10th and 11th, and hopefully that'll come to fruition.
I really hope so, man. I really hope so, because I know you were looking forward to that, and I'm sure a lot of people wanted to see you guys in Gorilla Biscuits. So fingers crossed that you guys can get back on your feet again, dude. I'm sorry that happened.
It's crazy.
Yeah, man.
We have some stuff in Europe later in the summer that we haven't fully confirmed, but we're looking for. And I saw Devil in Me on here. Shout out to Devil in Me, and hopefully that'll happen too. I mean, we're all just keeping our fingers crossed at this point. Like everybody else.
Yeah, man. Oh, by the way, anybody watching, if you guys have questions, there's a little button on the bottom with a question mark. It's just easier if you submit your questions there while we're doing this, so that I don't have to try to keep up with all of the people talking here. But I've been taking the opportunity to talk to people on my Instagram channel and keeping busy, and it's just fun for everybody to stay engaged. And part of that,
with Gavin last week was awesome, by the way. I saw the one with Gavin. I got to see the one that you did yesterday.
Oh, hell yeah. Mike Dijon was awesome. I had such a good time talking to him, man.
This is Gavin's homework. This is Gavin's homework for me in the next till the next time I see him. Who knows, But he sent me a long list. It's a list of chores.
That's Gavin Van Vlack from Bern, from his gym, Physical Culture Collective. He sent me a list yesterday, and I didn't start yet, but I'm going to start tomorrow. I swear to God.
Oh, you sent me a list. Awesome. Okay, we were talking about that the other day.
Yeah, the way I've been doing this, I've been kind of just telling people's background from the beginning, and I wanted to ask you, people know you from H2O, which not to make you feel weird, but legendary New York hardcore band. But you're not originally from New York. Where are you from?
So I grew up about 2 hours south of Washington D.C., and that's where I met Toby, Rusty, and Todd Morris. And we met in high school. I met Toby and Todd probably fall of 1985. I was a freshman, and I was like a new wave punker, checkered Vans, jams. But I always had a little bit of spike going on. And the first time I saw Toby in high school, I think he was coming from a Circle Jerk show in Washington, or maybe a show down there, Roadside Pets, Todd Morris and Rusty's old band. And he had hair that was higher spiked than mine. So I was like, oh, shit, what's this? You know what I mean? And so we just started hanging out, listening to music, trading tapes back then. And I met Todd Morris around the same time. He was in a band with Rusty back then. They split up. I started playing music with Todd, which eventually became Outcrowd. And we played a lot around the DC scene, in the late 80s, pretty much a lot of the Discord bands we played with down there. And then we just, around 1990, we all moved up here, and that kind of leads to H2O. But we were very involved in the DC scene. Todd and I, our old band, Outcrowd, and Rusty with his band Images. We played a lot, anywhere we could play, pretty much. Barnes to any club in DC, 930 Club, the old 930 Club, DC Space, Back Alley Cafe, all the old 80s venues that are not there anymore, and probably Starbucks.
Yeah. Let's talk about that a little bit. So I didn't realize you guys all grew up together in high school. I had no idea.
Yeah.
How did you discover punk rock for the first time? When did that happen?
Well, I was like I mentioned, I was like a new wave punker. I was into Ramones, Devo, anything anything back and forth between new wave and punk. The Police were my band. the Fix. I was really into the Fix. That was like, and I've rekindled a little bit of a friendship with the drummer in the last couple of years, which is kind of mind-boggling to me, but that's a whole nother story. Um, but and then through that, I got into like Toby. We were trading like Toby had like Marshall Man, Minor Threat. Minor Threat's one of my big drum influences. And through that, that's kind of how I weaned in. Suicidal Tendencies, Black Flag, Dead Kennedys, Adolescence, all the Discord bands, Scream.
Yeah, hell
Like
yeah.
I got kind of ventured in through all that. And then through that, I got into the New York scene. And then Sick of It All, Toby started writing with Sick of It All, late 80s, early 90s. And Outcrowd even played a couple of shows with Sick of It All. So I kind of weaned in through the Discord stuff into the New York stuff. And of course the Cali stuff, Circle Jerks, TSOL, that whole scene too was like a big thing that kind of weaned in through the DC scene and kind of weaned it out. And then that's kind of like my stuff that I listen to all the time, pretty much.
Yeah, no, I wish that I was around in those days. When I started going to shows, H2O just started. So that was my introduction to at least seeing live bands was when you guys started. I saw you guys around the demo, when you guys did a demo before the first full length. Prior to that, all the bands that you're talking about had broken up, and I never got the chance to actually see them live, but I had the cassette tape, so it's really cool to hear from somebody that was there and go through it,
Toby and I saw Fugazi's first show, actually.
Damn.
Fall of 1987. It was Soulside and Fugazi. There might have been one opening band too, Nation of Ulysses or something like that.
Oh, I love that band.
Yeah. We went up on a school night. I was like 15 or 16. We all piled in a van. I think Rusty might have been with us too. And like within 6 months, they were like the biggest band in DC, of course, because how great they are. And it was an incredible live band. Did you ever get to see Fugazi?
I saw Fugazi a bunch of times, and I saw them in New York. I saw them. Actually, I only saw them twice. I take that back. Not a bunch of times. I wish I saw them in New York at the Roxy, and I saw them in Boston on their last tour ever at college. Wow. Yeah, but how did you feel growing up in the DC scene when all that stuff was going on, like the Revolution Summer, when bands started to sort of switch it up? Were you a fan of what was going on around that time?
Yeah, I was. I like Government Issue. I'm wearing a Government Issue shirt. They were one of the they were one of the bands that kind of was involved in that too. And I think it was summer '89ish, I believe, when a lot of bands started playing different styles mixed in with the original style. But I was into it. I mean, I'm always, I listen to stuff that I didn't listen to then from that scene. I listen to now.
Yeah.
So I guess it kind of grows on you.
I love that, man. Before we move on, because we got a lot of time to talk, what are your favorite? What were your favorite bands from the Discord '80s era scene, and what were some of the what would you say are like your favorite shows that you saw during that time period?
There was one show, December of 1988. It was Verbal Assault, Soulside, and Fugazi, of course. That was like, that's on YouTube too. You can find that on YouTube. And it was just like, I don't remember how many people there, like 500 people just going nuts. Like, my band Outcrowd, we also played with Scream a bunch of times around DC with Dave Grohl and Ken Stax. And that was one of my first shows, actually. Fall of 1986 was opening for Scream. Nervous as shit. Broke snare head first song. Like, Ken Stax lent me his snare, and we had a funny laugh about it. About 8 years ago, we played together at Irving Plaza. He's back with Scream now, but I saw Scream at 930 Club, Circle Jerks. Like, I mean, they're not DT, but definitely, like, those were some of the ones that I remember a lot from down there.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but you actually have a funny story about re-meeting Dave Grohl when you were in H2O later on in life and talking to him about back in the day stuff, right? Is that something you tell me at one point?
Yeah, I mean, like I remember. Well, he I guess he remember he was more friendly with Todd Morris, and Todd actually later played on Dave later played on the Juliet Lewis and the Licks record,
Mm.
but we watched Pantera. It was Pantera and Black Sabbath at Philly Spectrum, 1999 February-ish, and we were kind of watching the show together. I offered him nachos or something stupid like that. I don't know. We've been on tour like H2O. We've been on tour like a year straight at that point, and actually I was glad I got to see it because well, Bill Ward was sick on that tour, but a friend of mine who I went down there with knew him a little bit, and I got to meet Bill Ward back then. I think he had to sit out. He had like a little bit of a heart issue on that tour, but that was incredible too.
Yeah,
that was at the same tour watching with Dave Grohl and stuff, but. No, I remember seeing Dave Grohl like when he was like 17 or 18 with Scream, and we played this place in Richmond called the Jade Elephant, and we played our set, and Scream went on, and I think it was the first song he broke the snare drum front of the head.
Fuck
So
yeah.
I guess it was a sign of things to come,
Yeah, hell yeah. When you guys, so you guys eventually moved to New York. Tell me about the transition from where you guys were coming from. How did that all come together? Because obviously you all went at the same time.
Yep. So I graduated high school in 1989, and I'm gonna trim it down. But a year after year after I graduated high school, we all moved up. We lived in Jersey City, all of us together. It was probably the whole band and probably like 3 other friends too. We all lived at the same time. And it was tough at first. Like the cost of living is a little different up here than down in Maryland. Toby and we moved up here on like a Friday or Saturday, and Toby and I started working at Roadrunner Records that Monday. And I was there for about 4 years, but he was there for a couple of years, and he started touring a lot with Sick of It All. And at the same time I was doing that, I was doing Outcrowd. We were trying to make a go at it, like playing a lot around the New York scene, New York bands. And so Outcrowd played in DC. This is right before we moved up with Raw Deal and Gorilla Biscuits down in DC at Safari Club, who a friend of ours, Shauna Kinney booked. She just put a book out about it. But, and so then Raw Deal became Killing Time. We all loved Killing Time. And so Anthony Carminelli, we played a lot around the New York scene, but Anthony Carminelli kind of hooked us up with Bill Wilson, who did all the Blackout stuff.
Yep.
So that was kind of how that all came together. And basically, I think it was 91, we agreed to do some stuff with Blackout. We did 2 records with Blackout. We did like an EP and a full length. And that kind of leads to
everything else.
Right around the
Yeah.
It leads into a lot of everything else.
What about when Outcrowd broke up and you guys decided to do H2O to back up for a second? What was the situation going on there?
So I think it was about June of '95. H2O was playing a lot. We played with H2O. Outcrowd played a lot with H2O a lot, excuse me. Coney Island High, and maybe like 1 or 2 other places in the city, maybe Wetlands. And we had been together. Outcrowd was together about 9 years at this point. And we kind of had a couple tours that didn't happen with Outcrowd towards the end. And we were kind of like maybe seeing a little bit of the writing on the wall with it. And so when H2O did a tour summer '95 with Civ, sharing a bus with Civ and Sick of It All, and they got back, that was when Todd and I started playing with H2O. So we did 2 shows in one day, actually, our first day of playing shows with H2O. We did Wetlands and the Stone Pony the first day, and it was it was crazy because it's like, all right, you have your first show, then you have two. We played like a matinee at Wetlands, sped down to Asbury Park, played with Shelter down at Asbury Park, and and then away we went for about 8.5 years, 8 or 9 years.
You guys are wild. I saw H2O twice in one day once. I wish I could remember what venue. All I remember is one show was in the city, probably in the Lower East Side, maybe Coney Island, and then the other one, Queens, at a record store. And I went to both shows with my friends.
Underground Sounds.
Yeah, you got a good memory, man.
I just met up with him recently, right before we went to Europe. I just met up with Tony. It was cool seeing him. I hadn't seen him in like 20 years.
Yeah, hell yeah, man. That's awesome. You guys all have a crew of guys that you stay in touch with, and I think that's something I took away from hardcore is that like a lot of people I met was through music, and then obviously seeing that there was a scene or a culture that was very much based on friendship and that whole thing really changed the rest of my the course of my life, and I think that's cool and really inspiring. And you guys had a lot to do with that.
Thank you.
Stylistically, when you guys put H2O together, you know, obviously in the early mid '90s, there was a lot of tough stuff going on. You know what I mean? A lot of tough sounding bands, especially the bands you were playing with. We're playing with Madball and District 9 and Crown of Thorns and Scarhead and what was the discussion when you guys put the band together? Was there like a purpose to be like let's bring it back to like a melodic punk, a melodic hardcore sound, and just try to bring back you know what I'm saying, that melodic
totally. So when we all lived together, we were still doing Outcrowd, and Rusty and Toby were in another room writing 5-year plan, and it was just different from what was going on, which was it was, my friends look out for me like family. I heard that in the other room, and then, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is like old school. I know Toby, we're all influenced by 7 Seconds and Minor Threat and, a lot of the melodic stuff too, as well as the heavy stuff. We like both of it. And so that's kind of like a little bit of, like I mentioned earlier, like the New York thing, the California thing, and the DC thing, where there's a little bit of melodic stuff going on too, as well as heavy stuff. And that's still is what we were heavily influenced by. We listen to all the time. I mean, like I was out in California in November driving around with Toby, and we were listening to Verbal Assault, 7 Seconds, even like the later 7 Seconds, like Soul Force Revolution, stuff like that. We love all that stuff.
Yeah. No, I loved every era of 7 Seconds, man, and even like the recent stuff. I don't know if you kept on with that, but like they put their last record had a song with Ian MacKaye on it, and it's unbelievable. You have to really listen to sort of hear his voice in there, but it's in there. But yeah, man, the '90s were a special time.
One story about 7 Seconds: we shared a bus with 7 Seconds, the 1999 Warped Tour, and that was surreal. Like for all of us, especially me and Toby, like that's like probably our top 3 or 4 favorite bands of all time. And we're sharing a bus with them. It was like I can't remember the name of the album they were touring on, but it was crazy and a little bit surreal for us too.
Oh, I'm sure. Kevin Seconds, I've never met him, but he just seems like such a cool, humble dude. And like I know the history of how he helped out Youth of Today back in the day.
Deftones too, man. Deftones too. They toured with Deftones like probably about 95-ish with 7 Seconds. Yep.
Yeah, that's cool. And when you guys were doing your thing in the '90s, I was going to see you at places like Wetlands, Coney Island High, and obviously CBGB's. What were your and Tramps too? How can you forget?
Oh, Tramps! I forgot about Tramps. Yep.
What are some of your? This is like a loaded question, but to me, when I think about H2O, it's hard to not think about that time. By the way, I'm in the Family Tree video. I don't know if I've ever told you that. And, have I told you that?
I think you told me that, and I looked for it and I saw you.
Yeah, man. Yeah,
we did 2 shows in one day for that too. We did an afternoon show and an evening show the same day we did the video too.
That was a great show. I remember it was a band from Long Island where I was from called Inside, and it
Yeah.
was Crown of Thorns and you guys, and it might have been another one, but yeah, like I laugh when I see that because I got the Jenkos on with the big pants. I got like some kind of like choker necklace. It was and a windbreaker, some serious '90s fashion going on.
I was trying to remember if that was in the fall or spring when we shot that. I do not. I have every show we've H2O's ever done on sheets of tour sheets, but I have nothing about. I can't find anything about that show when we shot the video or anything. But I'll look for it. But I can't remember.
It wasn't summer. It might have been, you know, the reason why, because I remember people were wearing like windbreakers and sweatshirts. So it couldn't have been like that hot, but probably, yeah. But yeah, this is a loaded question about that whole time period. Like, can you share like your favorite venues in New York to play at that time, some of your favorite bands that you played with during that time, and just literally like any special memories. I mean, it was just like the really beginning of your band, you know?
Yep. Well, in New York, like probably my favorite venue in New York was obviously CB's. I liked Wetlands a lot too because of the intimacy of it, but Tramps was great too, like you mentioned. I forgot about Tramps.
Yeah.
CB's, we played some shows there that were just in the middle of summer. I think it was summer 2002. It was in the middle of a heat wave, late summer. We had to stop because like it was just too hot, and like I don't remember exactly, but I remember Tom Morris was having a little problem with it, maybe a little dehydration or something after the show, but it was brutal. But CB's was CB's. I mean, it always, if you hear a kick and snare there, you're good to go. You know what I
mean? Dude, the place. To anyone that's ever been there, it sounded fucking amazing, but it was hot as fuck. When it was packed, is nothing like I can't remember the last time I was at a show or in a venue that hot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know. We played a couple last summer in Europe that was brutal too because they were having a heat wave, and they don't have the AC that we have over here. A couple places I was getting ice water dumped on me in Italy. One of the shows. Shout out to Italy. I know what's going on now, but it was about 110 outside and probably another 10 degrees hotter in the venue that we played last summer. But as far as bands, like around that time, like pretty much like Sick of It All, Madball, Pennywise. We still play with Pennywise a lot, and Madball. I do miss the intimate venues in the city for sure. Because I don't think there is that many anymore. Gramercy Theater, maybe.
Yeah, well, you guys did a bunch of shows at St. Vitus, like 3 in a row, and that's the place to hang out a lot. That place is great.
We did 5.
5 shows at St. Vitus. I'm sorry, not bad.
Oh my god! By like the 5th, it was fun. It was a lot of fun, but we were trying to get creative by like the 5th day. But we did 5, and it was like, whoa, okay. You know, I could see how like it gets like you try to keep it fresh, and we try to play stuff. We were doing stuff that we hadn't done in a long time at those shows, but it was by like the 4th or 5th show, we're like, all right, one more to go, guys. We got it, you know.
Oh man, that was good, man. Because that place, which opened up 9 years ago, I feel like it filled a void for a lot of people here.
Exactly.
That didn't have like those small clubs to go to, where it was for punk, metal, hardcore, whatever you're into. So that was cool. Your band took off pretty quickly. You ended up on a major. I was at one of the talk shows you played. I think it was on the second record. No, it was on the MCA record.
Okay.
And it was who was it? It was fucking Conan. I was at Conan.
Yep.
But I mean, what was that like? That whole ride, where like it wasn't. There were a few bands. Actually, there were more than a few bands in our scene that got that kind of attention because the '90s were kind of interesting like that. But just for you personally, like, what are your what are your memories or just craziest experiences that you remember from that time period when you were playing on television shows and playing, with mainstream bands and doing all that stuff,
Yeah, it was definitely like definitely a little bit of a different move, but for us, we felt like it was a good move for us at the time. I mean, we were doing from 1995 to I guess spring of 2000. We were doing about 150 shows a year.
Jesus.
So yeah, and we had just gone to a bus 1999, 2000-ish, but um, our last tour before we started working stuff together to get stuff together with MCA was this time actually 20 years ago. We were on tour with Saves the Day. We took Saves the Day. Rusty was a huge fan. We all loved them.
Yeah.
We took them on their first U.S. tour, spring of 2000. I think it was about an 8 or 9 week tour. And then when we got home from that was a whole crazy tour too. Crazy stuff on that tour. But we started working with MCA, and it was like, okay, we're going. We're gonna try and keep doing what we do. But for us, we felt like it was just to switch it up a little bit. We did 3 records the same. The first record, Thicker Than Water, FTTW, and it was definitely different. Shout out to Hans Haydel who signed us, Gary Ashley, and but it was definitely like we worked with Matt Wallace. We got to work with Matt Wallace, which was amazing. He did.
Oh yeah, absolutely. He did some legendary records.
Yep. And Faith No More, Replacements. I mean, lately he's had stuff too, Maroon 5, like all kinds of stuff. And back then it was like, we're used to going, like we did the first record in 3 days. Like drum tracks one day, guitars the next day, vocals, backing vocals the next day. When we did the stuff with MCA, we did a Rumble Studios out in Canoga Park, which was owned by Captain Tennille. And so we're in one room. I'm recording like 1 or 2 songs a day. I'm ready to go. Like I'm like, no, we got to do the bass. Then we're gonna do little guitars, And I'm sitting there like 2 weeks later. I mean, it was just a whole different world. Like we were used to recording everything in like 4 days, maybe 5 days, and so it was it was like, all right, so we're gonna take a 2-week break and come back in 2 weeks and we'll start mixing. And we were like, wait, what? Like, we still got 2 more weeks, and then we're going home for 2 weeks, then coming back for another, like. But the funny thing was, in the other room, when we're making Go, Axl Rose is in the room next to where we were.
No
and
shit.
he's starting, this is 2000 now. He's starting Chinese Democracy.
Wow.
And none of us said a word to him the whole time we were there. It was the weirdest thing. Like maybe Todd Morris did, but he's watching Monday Night Football. We're just sitting in the same room and no one says anything to him.
Dude, hold up. So you guys would see him, and he would just be chilling in like a lounge area, and you guys would hang out. And you wouldn't say a word to him.
It was really. He had an assistant with him, and so
Wait, hold up. Did he have a security guard or anything?
I don't think so, man. I don't remember seeing it. I don't. But he was just very like guarded in a way, but like. I don't know. It was just a weird vibe. Like, it was what it was. But now this is 2000.
Right.
Chinese Democracy doesn't come out till like 2008, maybe 2009.
Fucking A.
I think he went through a couple different lineups, but hey, I love Guns N' Roses. The first Appetite's one of my favorite records. It's all good.
Not to totally like get off track, but like. I don't know if you know some of the guys now. Like, I actually know Frank Ferrer, the drummer, who is from New York, and he was in the punk scene and all. You know Frank?
No, I don't. The name sounds familiar, though.
Yeah. But that is fucking hilarious, man. So that whole time period you're doing this stuff, you only put 1 record out on MCA, right?
We did a full length, and then we did an EP. We did an All We Want EP. With Scrap 60, It was a production crew out in New York City, and we did a record EP up in Great Bear Studios
Okay.
up near Nyack, where a lot of legendary records are made. You can Wikipedia it. There's tons of like Stevie Nicks, I believe, like
Wow.
a lot of. It's very isolated,
How wild
and
is
we did.
that?
It's crazy, and it was this is summer of 2002, and then we did a tour with Boxcar Racer up until 2003. Like we did a whole Boxcar Racer, which is Travis and Tom from Blink, and the Used was on that tour too. And but going back to MCA, yeah, we did a full length and an EP, and then and that was back then it was different budgets, as you probably back then it was like recording budgets were different, video budgets. We did a photo shoot for MCA. This is kind of funny, but we did a photo shoot about 6 o'clock in the morning with a full staff of photo shoots. Like I was sitting in a bathtub at 6, 7 in the morning, taking a full photo shoot, which now you could do on an iPhone, but back then it was different.
Right.
And I don't even know how much that photo shoot was, but the photo shoot probably was more expensive than, making Nothing to Prove or something like that.
Right.
Back then.
Unbelievable, man.
Yeah.
You guys have so many albums and EPs. What are your favorite? I know it's tough, right? But what are your top three favorite albums from your career?
I would definitely say Nothing to Prove is one of my favorites for sure. This first record, of course, that was our whole set. The first record was pretty much all the songs we had. And I would probably say FTTW, working with Mr. Brett Gurwitz. That was a lot of fun too. That was January '99.
Yeah.
Yep.
Dan Clayton wanted to know. Well, first of all, Dan Clayton says no one ever talks about the All We Want EP. I guess he finds that one to be a little underrated. So shout out to Dan. He wants to know what your least favorite song to play is.
You mean songs that we haven't played live? I would definitely say I Want, which is on Go. We were just there was some experimenting going on, and probably I Want, which is on Go, and there's a couple other clinkers probably, but every record I guess has them. Not every record. There's some perfect records, but every record has a couple clinkers on it, I guess.
All right. I'm getting to some people that were talking earlier. BBTJ says, keeping up with the hair despite the lockdown. Very impressed. I'm guessing you're talking to you and not me. That's good shit.
I think he just went on a run, because I saw him and Toby and Adam in a run Instagram challenge or something. Brian. Shout out to Brian.
Shout out, man. Yeah, you guys all stay pretty active, actually. I don't know the rest of your bandmates very well, but Gavin actually put me in touch with Adam at one point. Actually at two different points, and he was telling me if I'm ever out in LA to train with them and to hit up some meetings with them and stuff. I got a question though for you. Are all you guys straight edge, or is it just a few of you guys? You are not.
Nah, I mean, I don't claim it, but I don't do stuff either. I've never been a big drinker or anything like that. Toby's always been like 1,000% since I've known him since birth. He's never done anything, never tried anything. Rusty, I think, will have a beer here and there. He's not. I mean, none of us are big drinkers anymore. Adam doesn't do anything anymore. He's been sober 10 years now, almost. I think he stopped in Japan, 2010.
I got a question from somebody. Caleb Moore wants to know. I don't know what they're talking about here. What's up, Todd friend? Who's that hanging on the wall over to your left shoulder?
Over to my left shoulder.
What are we talking about? Are we talking about?
That would be my Descendants promo pic.
Oh shit! Fuck it. That's awesome.
Thanks. Yeah, I got some weird stuff. I got a Hall & Oates set list behind me too, hanging up. Ramone's photo as well, framed.
Yeah. I am so glad that I got to see the Ramones in my lifetime because
Yeah.
again, I wasn't around in the early days, but they were still playing in the '90s, so I got to see the Ramones twice. You know.
I have a little thing about that. That's another thing I forgot to mention earlier when I was talking about Outcrowd. We did do a Ramones East Coast tour, January, I'd say 1992, 1993, and they're definitely one of my favorite bands always. But we did New Jersey, Connecticut, City Gardens, the Chance in Poughkeepsie. We did like 5 or 6 shows in a row, and that was for me, like you're saying, that was a dream come true. I got to see him. I got to play with them. I'm still kind of friends with, I'm still kind of friends with Marky and some of their crew a little bit too.
That's fantastic, man. Um,
Yeah.
so I wanted to also ask a couple of questions. What have been your? Do you pay attention to the current scene right now, like to like the hardcore bands that are out there today? Do you have any notable ones that
Yeah.
stand out to you?
Yeah. I mean, I did like. I mean, I heard Ian McKay's Corky, which I really liked. I know that's not a new band, but it's a new band. And a lot of bands that we tour with in Europe, Cruel Hand,
Oh yeah,
Wisdom of Chains is awesome. We shared a bus with him in just in January actually, which seems like a whole nother. It seems like a long time ago, January, but it was just in January. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot. We're hoping to do some stuff with Devil and Me this summer, um, and I want to hear Gavin's new band too. I heard him, or I saw him post something the other day about doing some new music and stuff, which is always cool too.
oh man, he's so good, so underrated, that guy, man.
Yeah.
I realized I skipped a question earlier, but drumming wise, who are your main influences in general? Some of your favorite drummers?
Yeah, so I play open-handed. So back in 85, 86, 87, when like started making a go at it, it was kind of like there wasn't a lot of open-handed drummers that you would see.
Right.
So it was really like back then it was like I kind of had to figure some things out on my own sort of because there was no YouTube, there was no you know, live music that you see now on YouTube or on HBO or whatever. So back then it was like I kind of just would listen and play along and try to figure stuff out that way. And then getting into the DC scene, like Minor Threat was one of my earlier influences. But the drummer that I really took to, and I might have mentioned this to you before because you're going to be going on tour with them this summer. The drummer that I really got to like watch and be like, oh, I'm not crazy. He plays open-handed too. With Mike Borden from Faith No More,
Yeah.
where he plays open-handed. And when I saw the We Care a Lot video, I think it was summer of '87. I was like, wow, okay, this guy can play open-handed, so I can do it too. And that kind of gave me a little bit of confidence. And I think I might have mentioned that to him one time at Roseland in the early '90s. But he was one of my early influences. I mean, definitely, Stuart Copeland, my middle name's Stuart. I gravitated to that when I was a kid. He was one of my early drum influences as well. I like Larry Mullen a lot because he just keeps things simple. Lets the
Oh, I love
guitar.
Larry Mullen. Yeah, hell yeah.
He influenced me to put a floor tom on my hi-hat side for a little while. I haven't done that lately, but I might bring that back. Who knows? But that he's one of my early influences too. I mean, just so many. Dave Grohl, Ken Stax, of course, Marky Ramone, just letting the song speak and rocking into it and doing his thing. He was always a big influence on me. Or well, Tommy for the early stuff. Tommy Ramone, then Marky. Those are definitely my early influences on a lot. For New York stuff, for New York hardcore, like Armand from Sick of It All, like he's definitely one of my favorites. Drago from Killing Time, Luke from Gorilla Biscuits. Like, got to watch him 2 months ago now on the Persistence tour. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I loved watching the videos on that tour. You guys had a cast of characters, not just posting a lot of stuff. By the way, shout out to a couple people on there. Charlie from Civ and Gorilla Biscuits and Judge out there. Drew.
Sammy Siegler. Oh my God, Sammy Siegler, open-handed too. He was another one of my early, seeing him play open-handed. I almost spaced on him. He was one of my early open-handed drummers too. Like I like to sit behind him and watch him play too.
Dude, Sammy Siegler is one of my favorite drummers, and you're right. He is open-handed. Believe it or not, I just met him for the first time, like right before the quarantine. We have so many mutual friends, and I'd never met him, and we just got to talking. So I'm supposed to interview him at some point. We're going to be talking to him. And he's in a new band that everyone should check out called Constant Elevation. Really good melodic hardcore band. But yeah, man, that's a good list. And obviously someone said Mackie. Mackie.
I forgot Mackie too. Yeah, of course.
Shout out to everybody watching out there. Drew from Perfect World, another good new hardcore band to check out. He designs the flyers for all of these interviews. And the last 10, 15 minutes I like to do, I've been asking you lists of stuff.
Yep.
Like top fives. So let's go with this. Top five New York hardcore records and why.
Okay. I would say Madball Set It Off. Sick of It All, Blood and Sweat. Gorilla Biscuits Start Today. Killing Time, Brightside for sure. And I got to do one more. Shit, I'm drawing a blank. Chromax Age of Quarrel.
Christ, yeah. I mean, it's so hard to fucking beat that, man.
I don't forget other stuff too. Judge, the Judge record. I'm forgetting something. But I like the first Civ record too a lot.
Oh, dude, that record is ridiculous, dude. I just saw Gorilla Biscuits right before the quarantine, and they played a couple Civ songs.
They did two in Europe too. They did two.
Yeah.
Choices and wait 1 minute more. Choices.
We didn't get either of those. They played one, and god damn, I wish I could remember the title of it, but everyone just fucking went off. And, yeah. That was a good last show to see before all this shit went down. That's a great list, man. There's too many to name.
I know.
Yeah. Well, what if you had Universal?
We haven't even talked about the Bad Brains at all, too. I mean, we could go for another 20 minutes on the Bad Brains. Bad Brains, too,
Well, that's tough, too. I mean, people call them a DC band. People call them a New York band. So it's really hard when you put it into a regional thing. But I was going to ask you top five regionals. So, like, you could just pick a top five of all time from anywhere.
Wow. That's a tough one. I definitely would say the first Ramones record. I listened to does Greatest Hits count?
All right.
Record.
I started doing it last night where I'm going to start doing it at the end. But yeah, go for it.
Shit, we forgot Dag Nasty too, man. DC, holy shit. We just started playing we played with Field Day. That's another new band, but it kind of isn't, but it is remember some Dag Nasty are doing Field Day. Peter Carry On from the old Dag Nasty from the Wig Out era. Carry On was in on the Wig Out stuff, and Can I Say? This is a tough one. I would say Minor Threat, Bottle of Violence, 7 Seconds, Newen, Verbal Assault, Trial. You got to check out Verbal Assault. Have you ever checked out Verbal Assault?
They've just flown under my radar. I know who they are, but I've never fucking checked them out.
Yeah, Verbal Assault is, man, they're way underrated. Soulside, but we're doing top 5 all time, right?
Yeah.
I think I mentioned a couple of them. Verbal Assault, Trial, 7 Seconds, Newen. Although I like Walk Together, Rock Together too. The tough one, man. Because some groups put out like 5, 3 or 4 or 5 classics. But I definitely put Dag Nasty. Maybe I put Wig Out on there. I like Can I Say a lot though, but Wig Out I'll put on there. I mean, you could go city by city too. There's three big cities that we're all
Right.
H2O. We're all influenced by. And Circle Jerks. I'm forgetting Circle Jerk stuff too, man. Group Sex, Golden Shower Hits, wonderful. I actually played with Circle Jerks on their wonderful tour, '89ish. I was in high school,
They're
but
doing they're doing a tour soon to do group sex.
yeah, I saw
Anniversary.
that. I saw that. I
Yeah,
want to see it. I mean, hopefully it'll happen. Later in the summer. We're all keeping our fingers crossed.
that's true. I
Obviously,
wasn't even thinking about that. Um,
yeah,
you guys, oh, so anybody watching, I mean, obviously, if you're watching, you're a fan already, but you guys paid homage to a lot of your influences and put out a lot of cover EP
yeah,
with a lot of
yeah,
the bands that you talked about. You mentioned Verbal Assault a lot, so I'm going to check that
yeah.
out. There was a
Oh,
band. What's up? Go
oh
for
no,
it.
no, no. Yeah, Verbal Assault. Definitely check them
Yeah.
out. Yeah, yeah,
You mentioned a band earlier who I also never checked out and was mentioned on an Instagram live interview that Roger Murray did earlier this week, and that's The Fix. I never checked out The Fix.
yeah, yeah. So, like, this is probably about '83ish. Where I lived, like where we all lived in Maryland, it was pretty remote. Like, it was hard to get. Like, if it wasn't like you had to kind of search. Now it's not like now where you can just go on YouTube and check stuff out. But they were doing stuff a little bit differently than a lot of '80s new wave bands, and they kind of like if you I mean I know it's a stretch, but I know you're a Faith No More head.
Oh yeah,
They have a lot of the similar instrument stuff going on with heavy-ish new wave kind of guitars with ambient keyboards. The bass player is fucking insane, Dan Brown, and the drummer, the singer is fucking awesome, Cy Curran. They played at City Winery about 2 years ago, and I hung out with those guys till like 2 or 3 in the morning, and they're like 10 years older than me. They're like it was like 2:30 in the morning, and they're like, "We're gonna go to another bar. You want to come with us?" I'm like, "Nah, I'm good, man. I'm going."
dude.
And
I felt
they had a show the next day in Connecticut. I'm like looking at my watch, like, "Holy shit!" Like,
right, right.
but
I had an experience like that recently with Killing Joke. I don't know those guys personally, but I saw
yeah,
Killing Joke and at Barclays Center opening for Tool, and then they showed up
oh,
and did an
yeah,
after party at St. Vitus where they were
yeah,
DJing, and like, man, those guys were fucking ripping shots, drinking, hanging out, and
yeah,
it was getting late, and I even bounced before they did, but like these dudes, some of them had no hair at all, gray hair, just fucking
yeah,
like old
yeah.
motherfuckers partying their asses off, man. Put me to
Yeah.
yeah.
I like maybe 10 years ago, like I mean we all of us, Toby, Rusty and I, we would go to like Limelight, watch the Sunday matinee. This is like mid to late '90s. And then Dominic from MTV, a friend of ours, shout out to Dominic if he's watching, um, he would DJ at like 4 in the morning, and we would stay until sunrise. But now it's like, all right, 3 o'clock or 2 or 1 or whatever. It's like, but yeah, like you're saying, like they just keep going. I'm like, holy shit, like.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we have 5 minutes left, so I just want to say a
Okay.
few things real quick. But if you're
Yeah.
just tuning in, or if you tuned in late and you missed the first half, this is going to be on my YouTube channel tomorrow. Just search Christopher Enriquez. This whole episode will be up. Age of Quarantine. And Todd, obviously we don't know what's going to go on with the pandemic, but what hypothetically do you guys have coming up? I know you mentioned hopefully the tour rescheduling. Are we going to see or hear any new music? Is there anything going on?
We were just like, so um, we've rescheduled 2 shows for July so far. We were supposed to play April 2nd and 3rd and 4th, New York City and Jersey. We rescheduled those for July 10th and 11th. We're hoping to go to Europe later in the year and maybe another time later in the year, but who knows? Um, but no, we just, I mean, we were going, we did pretty, we did like a full, I guess about 50, 60 shows last year. Our last show was in Europe on the Persistence tour with Wisdom and Chains, Gorilla Biscuits, Agnostic Front, Street Dogs. We got home from that probably about 8 weeks ago now, a little over 8 weeks ago. And then we were just kind of winding up to do the Gorilla Biscuit shows in the Midwest, and then all this stuff kind of threw us and everybody in the world pretty much for a loop. So
Yeah.
that's what we're hoping, like for July to kind of get back at it hopefully sooner, but you never know. But that's kind of what we're hoping for.
Well, I hope you do, man. And I'm just glad that you guys are still out there grinding and doing your thing. And it's awesome to, the band also has so much other stuff going on. I listen to Toby's podcast, One Life, One Chance. If you guys haven't checked that out, it's a great, great podcast where he interviews a lot of people from different bands, from different scenes, and even not even just bands, celebrities and people, actors. And he had, man, who is the guy that you guys are friends with? Michael Rappaport.
Rappaport, yeah.
Dude, have you watched his whole PSA? Oh my God, it's amazing. For people that should tell their kids to stay home, it's on his Instagram. It's fantastic.
I gotta check that out.
Oh, dude,
I'm doing more following now that we're all quarantined in, pretty much. I'm like just checking out different stuff and people's different Instagrams. I don't really go on Twitter, even though I have an account, but Twitter's a little bit, a little crazy. I'd stay out of that world, but I'm on it, but I'm like, I keep it as long as I don't have the app on my phone or anything. But Instagram is a lot of pictures and funner than Twitter. I find it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, we got a couple of minutes left, and I just want to say thank you for doing this with me, and giving me something to do during quarantine. I started doing this so I could talk to friends of mine and cool bands and artists and people doing shit, and I think that people have been excited about it, so I really appreciate it.
Sure. If you need any help with anything, let me know, too, like whatever, anything you need, I'm always a text away.
Yo, look who just tuned in. We got Toby Morse in the house, man. Hell yeah.
Yo.
What's up, man? I'm gonna have to get him on here at some point.
For sure.
You have any final last words before we say goodbye to everybody?
No, it was cool. Like I like how we became friends at the gym too, because I would be winding down and you'd be coming in getting started, and you I'd be like, all right, hey, what's up, man? Like after an hour of training with Gavin, and but you do different stuff at the gym too. You do more fighting and kicking and stuff too. Yeah. I haven't dived into any of that yet, but no, it's cool. We became friends over there too. And,
absolutely.
Hey,
shout out to Pat, who's watching. He's one of the guys from Physical Culture Collective that jiu-jitsu program. What's up?
That guy, I do a semi with him, and our semi is no joke. Like me, Pat, and Rob, another guy named Rob, who we all train together. So we do like a good hour together. I was trying to get one in before all this stuff shut down, but it didn't come to fruition. But shout out to Pat, of course. He also trains there too, I think.
Yeah, he does. Pat says more like an hour of Gavin telling you what to do. Well, yeah, guys, if you once this is over, the place that Todd and I are talking about where we met, it's called Physical Culture Collective, and that's their name on Instagram. You can follow them at Physical Culture Collective. It's a great gym. They do jiu-jitsu, just regular training, Muay Thai, and you'll just, because Gavin played in Burn, it's not uncommon to recognize some people from bands and just people that you might have seen at shows. So it's a very fun community.
I have a quick story, and I know we're almost out of time, about how I started training with Gavin and what happened in the beginning of when I started training with Gavin. H2O did a Midwest tour. I want to say we did a 20th anniversary tour of our first record. We went to the Midwest, Detroit, Chicago, Cleveland, and one other city, Pittsburgh maybe. And so the last show was in Detroit. I'm talking to Gavin about training. This is December of 2016. And he goes, yeah, yeah. So when I get back from, he was going on vacation to Mexico.
So you left with Gavin's guarantee from that show.
Yeah, his check. I don't know how it happened. It was sitting in the dashboard of the van that we had for that run. It was like 4 or 5 shows with Byrne. And he's on a plane like to Mexico, and the tour is in there. We're driving back, and I find his check from the Detroit show, his band's check, and he goes to Mexico, comes back. I have a training session scheduled with him, and basically, like I go into train with him. I'm like, oh yeah, here's your check from the last show. I don't even know if he knows. He could probably tell you, but I don't know how that happened. But that was a funny way to end the tour and to start training, start a whole new world training with Gavin and everything too.
Fucking ridiculous, man. Sorry I didn't tell you about how this thing just kicks you off. It basically kicks you off after an hour. But dude, that was a lot of fun, man. I really appreciate it.
That was awesome, man.
And
that was awesome. Yeah, it was fun. It went by really quick too. I was, like I was like, whoa, we're done already. Like I could keep going.
I could keep going too. That's how these things work, I guess. But we'll be talking more in real life, man. And I can't wait to get back to the gym. Maybe I'll join you on one of the classes.
I know. When I saw that they had to close when the city was closing gyms down, I was like, shit. I was like,
fucking worse.
But,
what are you? Yeah. Well, now you have homework from Gavin. I have homework from Gavin. Yep. So yeah, there it is. There it is. yo, tape that. Put that shit online, and Gavin will repost it to the stories. Let's see you at work, man.
Let's do it.
All right, man. Good to see you, man.
All right, bud. All right. Good talking to you, man. Anytime, man. We'll talk soon for sure.
All right. Peace out, brother.
Peace, bud.
Thanks for joining. That was an episode of Age of Quarantine and a Half. That was Todd Friend from the band H2O. Tomorrow night on the St. Vitus Instagram, we'll have Paul Bearer. Tuesday, I will be interviewing Power Trip. Wednesday, John Stanier, formerly of Helmet and Battles and Tomahawk. Thursday, Helms Ali. Friday, Primitive Man. And then I'll let you know who I will be speaking with over the weekend and be promoting that. So thanks for watching. I've been having a great time doing this, and I really appreciate you indulging me. Peace out, stay safe, and wash your fucking hands.